Hey guys, welcome to this week's episode of the Strong Dad Army podcast even. And this week, my guest is none other than Barry Gibson. Barry, how are you, mate?
I'm good, Dan. Thank you. Thanks for having us on, mate. How are you? You all right?
I'm fine, mate. I'm buzzing to have you on. I've been a bit of a fan for quite some time. I was telling my brother today. We took the kids out to the park, and I was telling my brother about it actually because we both followed you for a while, and followed you like your methods of training and stuff, and which obviously we'll get to that in a bit. And he was like, "Oh, no way," So we've both
awesome,
been fans for a while, mate. Yeah,
that's awesome, mate. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure, pal. My pleasure. So this goes out on YouTube as well as like on podcast format. So those that will watch on YouTube will be able to see exactly what I'm talking about. But those who aren't and are listening, Barry's sporting a magnificent beard at the minute. That must have taken a while to grow that, pal.
It did, yeah. I took it off last year. My dad coaxed us into taking it off last year because my dad thinks it's horrendous, and I shaved it because I was going through a bit of a divorce and a settlement with the ex-missus about kids and whatnot, and my dad said I should look less like an angry Viking when I go to court, So I took it off and I hated it. I instantly hated it. So it's been growing back since about June last year. And this is like, I'm getting there. I don't know how far I'm going to go with it. I'm liking the Viking look now, and I don't know whether to go for like wise old wizard or a little bit further. But there's more grey, Dan. The worst bit is it's come back, and there's more grey. If I'd left it in the first place, it wasn't as bad.
There you go. There's a lesson to be learned there, mate. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. It applies to beards as well. I was wounded as it started to come back through. I could see more white in me stubble, and I was thinking that's not right. I didn't have that many, and then all of a sudden it's like, I'm venturing towards Santa Claus, like.
Yeah, the silver fox. So, mate, what I like to do on this podcast is sort of go back to the beginning, really, and just get a little bit of background info on like as your upbringing, what you're like as a kid, before we get into like the sort of training side or whatever it is you're up to these days. So obviously, many will be able to tell from your accent, you're from the northeast of England.
Yes.
Somewhere, but give us a bit of background info about you, pal.
I was born and bred in Sunderland, just a little bit shy of Newcastle, a little bit further south of Newcastle. Everybody always assumes when I go outside the northeast that I'm from Newcastle. It's like that thing where, oh, you're a Geordie, aren't you? You're like, no, I'm from Sunderland. I'm not a Geordie. It's, so thanks to Geordie Shaw being everywhere, all them half-wits on there, you've got like people just think I'm from Newcastle as well. But I'm 46 next month. And as I say, born and raised in Sunderland, really. I've been here all my life. I studied here, I've worked, trained, kicked around areas like Millfield, South Hilton, places like that, my upbringing. I had a good childhood. I'm an only child. I've got like a stepbrother and stepsister now, but I was an only child, and it was great. I had a good upbringing. My dad worked hard. He worked in the shipyards at the time, which was like a big, heavy industry. That was my mother kind of did part-time work as a nurse and stuff, and it was just it's a good question. I've never been asked that really about my upbringing, but I had a great upbringing. I get on really well with mum and dad. Good. They were like young parents as well. They were 17 and 16 when they had me. So I've got like at 45-year-old now. Like my dad's 63 and my mum's 62, so it's nice because they're still young and they're still, they're around for my kids a lot, and so I've got like young parents, which I consider myself to be lucky, because everybody I went to school with, their parents were like 10 years older than mine at the time, and it's I'm very fortunate like that, I kind of got on with them. I've still got good relationships with both of them, so, and it's nice, it's handy for childcare, obviously, but it's nice. Absolutely, anyway,
Of course it is.
I'm dead close to my dad, like through judo and stuff, and but my mom's like my best mate, so it's awesome, But like I say, upbringing wise, it was, like anywhere really. Sunderland was like a working class town. You had like the pits, the mines and stuff, and or shipbuilding, and then mid-80s that all went. And it changed the landscape of not just our area, but everywhere. I think like Wigan was probably fairly similar, wasn't it? And places like that. I think it's heavy industry went, and that was like had a massive impact. But my dad then went to work offshore after that. So, and he always used to instill in me that, I didn't want to work in class. He says, you didn't want to be going to work like me, you want to be going to work smart and clean, and you're coming in manky. And he always tried to encourage us to be like a white collar worker rather than a blue collar worker.
Yeah.
And weirdly enough, I'm saying to my kids now, get a trade. There's no matter with a trade, you learn a fortune if you want to be a builder, a bricklayer, It's mental how it's kind of changed full circle,
Absolutely.
It's crazy, absolutely crazy. But yeah, upbringing wise was fantastic, spot on.
Brilliant.
Both parents are still alive and kicking, so it's all good.
Good to hear. So obviously you mentioned about judo, though, which was something I was going to bring up. So at what point did you start? Was judo the first sport you got into, really, or was it not?
Yeah.
Did you do it from a young age?
I did, yeah. I mean, I did judo from being 6-year-old, really. I got into it through my dad, because my dad was doing judo at the time. And I kind of dabbled with I went through, I was about 11 and I went through a Bruce Lee phase like most people do. And I went into, I got into Kung Fu for a bit. I did that through my teens. And then gravitated back to judo at the age of 19, after I had a bit of a fun fight with my dad. And just messing on, genuinely just messing on, playing around. And I threw this kick at him thinking I was clever, and he caught my leg, picked me up and dunked me head in the dog's water bowl. And I was 18-year-old at the time, and I remember thinking, that's not cool. Like, you shouldn't be able to do that to me. I've done 7 years of this. I should be and we're just messing on. Like I said, we just picked us up like I was nothing. I went pop and tipped me upside down, dunked us in the dog's bowl. So that was that. So I went back to judo that day, and I never looked back really. And then I crossed over into sambo I dabbled in sambo with a guy from down, well, not so much your neck of the woods, but from Salford way, around the early 2000s. And not long after that, I got married, really, had kids. So I stopped all the competitions and pretty much the training kind of took a sideline a little bit. And I didn't get back into sambo until 2011 again. And then I've competed ever since then, really, in senior competitions and then masters once I turned 40. So it's kind of like all my life I've done it, from being, like I say, being 6 years old, I've been around grappling sports and martial arts, and I've never looked back. That was kind of the foundation of my training ethos, really. Was the martial arts, really, because I'm really shit at any other sport. I'm proper diabolical. I can play table tennis a little bit, sort of, but literally everything else, football and that, I'm just crap at. Absolutely crap. But I can cheat really well. I can cheat well. I can foot treat people and trip them over when they run past me and stuff. But that's as good as it gets, mate.
Yeah. So for those listening who don't know what sambo is, I mean, the majority of people probably have a bit of an idea about judo, but what's the difference with sambo? Because I I have a bit of an idea myself, but obviously those that are listening that haven't got an idea, could you just talk about it for a little bit?
Yes, sambo's a Russian combat sport, a Russian martial art. And it's it was designed for their military in 1938 or so. There's two branches to it, and if any of your listeners follow UFC and they've followed, even if they're older, they might have followed Pride, so they'll have heard of fighters like Fedor and Khabib Nurmagomedov, people like that. They come from a sambo background, and basically sambo, there are two sides to it. So there's sport sambo, which is a bit like judo and wrestling. So it wouldn't look unrecognisable for judo players. They would recognise a lot of the techniques and stuff, except they wear jackets that are similar to judo jackets and shorts. But combat sambo is the other side of it, which is MMA. If you think MMA with a jacket and a head guard, and the only reason you've got head guard on is because you can headbutt in sambo, in combat sambo.
Wow.
It's the sport of combat sambo is fairly brutal, and a lot of the Eastern Europeans and the Russians are using it as a segue into MMA now, like Fedor did and Khabib did, and there's a few others that are coming through now, and it's a great sport. I mean, it's brilliant. And I got into sambo because of there were certain rule changes in judo where they took out certain throws, leg grabs, things like that.
I remember that, yeah.
And I didn't like how it was going. I mean, judo is still my base art, and I still love to watch judo. And my dad still actively is involved in judo now, more as an official, a referee, things like that. But my dad competed, and we always loved that kind of the grappling sports, the competition side of things. But I gravitated more to sambo and even dabbled with a little bit of combat sambo as well for a time. And it's I loved it. It was great, absolutely brilliant.
And for those listening, you know, you got a little bit to brag about. You did all right, didn't you, with your sambo?
Yeah. I mean, I'm yeah. I was okay. I mean, you know, I know my way around a mat. I always say that to people. It's, you know, I mean, I've got a drawer full of bronze medals, and I've got a couple of golds, you know, a few golds and silvers. But
yeah,
you know, I'm all right. I've done okay out of it. I enjoy competing, and I enjoy like kind of. I mean, it's let me go traveling. You know, I've seen some places I wouldn't have seen ordinarily, which is always nice. You know, and I've represented it, like I've represented Great Britain at 5 World Championships and stuff. So it's nice. You know, it is nice. It is nice to be able to go there. The only downside is it's self-funding, so you're relying on. Yeah. I mean, the other thing is with everything that's going on in the world at the moment, I would have been going to the World Masters this coming weekend in Holland, but that's been cancelled now because thanks to COVID. So
all sorts of stuff in it, pal.
Oh, mate, yeah, it's flat. I think it's flat and everything, isn't it? It's just it's kind of obviously I haven't been on the mat since, like, officially in like any coaching or competition capacity since February, because I injured my knee at the British Open this year, and then in March we went into lockdown. So, you know, I've never been back. Obviously, I can't open my club yet. So it's very much having a massive knock-on effect, you know. But in terms of the sport, it's great. It's afforded me. So I've met some great people, you know, and been in some like fantastic, like beautiful countries that I potentially would never have gone to, you know.
Absolutely.
So it's had its advantages.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Sounds good. And you've and this, I'm assuming, is what led you into, because I mean, those that don't know, obviously, I'll let you tell the story. But you then started getting into actually strength and conditioning, the coaching side as well. But which led to you working with, you know, a few higher level MMA fighters, didn't it? If you want to tell us about that, pal.
Yeah, well, I mean, I had the idea of like Grapple Fit as a concept about 2005. 2006, I started running with it like as a bit of a business, an online thing, and I was still working then at the time. 2006, I was heading into like I was working for British Judo actually at the time, I think, and then I moved into being a lecturer at a college up here, like near where I live, and I started training people on the side as a little bit of a thing, and so I was doing, and I was inspired by guys similar guys that you have, you know. I mean, if you think like Joe DeFranco, Ross Enamite, Zach Evanesh, James Smith-Spitty, and Jed Johnson from the Diesel Crew, those were the kind of the main ones, you know, Alan Cosgrove, people like that, but mainly those guys that I mentioned, because it was the warehouse type gym, the backyard gym. I loved all of that, and a lot of it like struck a chord with me, because the judo and the kung fu training that I did, a lot of it was body weight training. That's what inspired us, you know, different ways to do things, different variations of push-ups, pull-ups, you know, uses of very minimalistic equipment. And that was where the kind of concept of Grapple Fit came. And at the time, where I am in my area, there was nobody really doing it. You know, I was getting, you know, I'm going to local parks and pulling a plastic sledge full of kettlebells and sandbags along the park, and dog walkers are looking at me like I'm just being let out, you know. And but I started training other people to do that sort of thing. And a friend of mine who's a graphic designer, we did a DVD rather kind of pedantically, like a training DVD. And that was my first, that was like 2006. And it was Ross Pearson bought it. The UFC vet Ross Pearson, you know, he bought it, and because I mean, he's a local lad to me. He's about like his mother lives about 20 minutes away from me, so he's like, he's from this area, and he contacted me off the back of watching the DVD and said, I want to get into this. And this was he was still fighting on like Cage Warriors and Strike and Submit and things like that. So you're going back to like maybe 2007. And he'd done a little bit of training with me, and he got laid off from his bricklaying job. And he said, and I was wanting to set up my business and do this full time at the time. And he got laid off around about 2008, and he said, look, I can't come and train with you anymore, you know. And I said, what's the matter? And he said, well, I've been laid off, blah, blah. I said, listen, I said, I tell you what I'll do, right? I says, I'm trying to set this up as a business. I said, you want to train and fight. I said, if I get you a T-shirt, wear the T-shirt as much as you can and sing about us. Tell everybody how great I am. I says, and you be a walking billboard for me and I'll train you for now. He went, are you sure? I said, yeah, no problem. That was pretty much how the conversation went. And after that, it would have only been about maybe 8 months later, he got the nod to go into the Ultimate Fighter house. Mm-hmm. And then he ended up winning that series, obviously, Tough 9.
That's right, yeah.
And the cameras came. I was on there a little bit. I'm on the extras of the training bits and stuff. And so it was weird, you know. And then all of a sudden, I had people. I got a unit for my gym, and I'd left the college, and I started getting people coming to train. You know, regular folks, but fighters. A lot of fighters. I was running group circuits and sessions like that, and it snowballed from there. You know, by sort of 2008, 2009, and then late 2009 when I got my first kind of premises as such, it snowballed from there, you know.
Nice.
And it was great. I had and then since then I had Andrew Fisher from Bellator. I had Phil DeFries for a time when he was in the UFC early on. Colin Fletcher was a regular at my place, the Freak Show, and Lancina Green, who more recently she was on the Ultimate Fighter Ladies a couple of years back, you know, and she was actually like a bit of an understudy for me as well. She came and did some coaching hours as part of her degree because I'd trained her partner, and that's how I met Lanch. And she kind of she's still working in the industry as a strength conditioning coach, and she's nice. Still doing she's still coaching. She's doing well in BJJ, MMA wise. I think she's still training as well, you know. So she's still killing it, you know, which is good. Because I mean, I think it's a hard industry now to be in. I think you know, the fitness business as such is a hard industry for like independents and small gym owners. I think, and as not even now, but I think it's worse now, you know. But I think it's hard. It's a hard, unforgiving industry, I think.
Yeah, and very. I think maybe I don't know if it's oversaturated, maybe a little bit. Yeah, because it can be very easy to sort of set up, really, I suppose, not necessarily from a money standpoint, because obviously, you know, you've got to invest money, but I think it can be so easy for people to set up, just get this little unit and say, right, this is my strength and conditioning gym or whatever. And, you know, they might not necessarily have the credentials maybe, or the experience and stuff like that. And I don't know, it can be, I think many people could do it without having that experience. And a lot of people wouldn't know any different, would they, necessarily? Like your regular Joes wouldn't know any different. So obviously, you train some elite level fighters and athletes. So where are you today with that, mate? Are you still involved in it at all? Do you keep in touch with these guys and girls, or because I know obviously you're saying you're teaching at the moment, aren't you now?
Yeah. Well, what happened? I folded the physical side of Grapple Fit as it was. I folded that in about 2015. It's about 5 years now, which was one of the hardest decisions I had to make because I threw myself into it. And but again, like just family issues. It was like a separation, then which led to a divorce. The business took a nosedive, and it wasn't. You know, it was time to kind of look. I had to take a long look at myself and move away. You know, and I started working in a care home part time as a support worker, and then the place I worked, the company I worked for, opened a school in Sunderland, and I went there as a teaching assistant because I used to be a lecturer in a college, and I thought, well, I can get into teaching and stuff, but I'm now a teacher there at the moment, and nice. I don't miss the self-employment side, the aspects of, you know, the lean times. Like God bless all these people who are doing it now as a sole income, especially now, you know, with all this carry on about the gyms and not knowing whether they can open.
Absolutely.
My heart genuinely goes out to them. I think it's horrific. It's an absolutely awful situation because it was hard enough on a day-to-day basis. And I even opened my gyms up. I started running like regular folks classes because if you train fighters, I don't know if you've ever heard like Martin Rooney talk about it. If you train fighters, you'll just be living on pet food for the rest of your life. Because fighters come and go, they'll train for a bit and then they're off for like 8. You know, they might not be fighting for another like 2 months or so. So they only come back with like 6 weeks out or 8 weeks out.
Yeah, absolutely.
So unless you've got a massive stable of them, it was hard work. So I opened up to regular folks and I got some great results with people, you know, and weirdly enough, people still ask me now if I'll open up again. And you know, if money wasn't an issue, I would do it in a heartbeat because I loved it. But you know, you've got bills to pay. We've all got bills to pay and stuff. And it's like, it would be the job security I miss. That would be the big thing. But I loved the coaching. I loved the teaching. So I kind of gave that up. But I started at the time. I was running a Sambo club still, and I still run that 3 nights a week. Obviously, under normal circumstances, I run it when I can. But I kept my Grapple Fit like brand going, if you like. So I mean, people still buy the ebooks from me and DVDs and stuff. Every now and then, people will come say, hey, or I'll get people who say, I read your article from such and such the other day. I've still got your articles in Fighters Only mag, and all. It's weird the impact, you know. And I'm quite like, I'm blown away by it all the time. I'm dead humbled by it because like you saying there, you were talking to your brother. That's massive to me. I think that's brilliant. Like because I don't class myself as anybody special. I just did. Yeah. You know, and I don't know if it's maybe our background, working class background. I'm just me doing a bit of a job, and it was a job that I loved, and I'm helping people get where they want to be. But like the amount of times I hear people say, "Oh, like you know, I saw that article in Fighters Only. I love that. I've still got some of your articles," and it's like, wow, really? You know? And or if I get the odd guy who say, "Oh, I bought your last DVD," and I'm like, "Oh, so you're the one customer," you know? But it's like they're like, you know, people are dead like open and honest about it. You know, it's dead nice. It's a very, for me, it blows me away, and it's very humbling.
Oh, of course, to think
that maybe he's made an impact on folk, you know, that because that was all I ever wanted to do, really, just like help folks and make a bit of an impact and leave something behind a bit, you know.
And that's I can't remember if it was me or my brother. We one of us bought the ebook you had that was called was it Real Fighters Don't Run? Is that right?
Yes.
There you go. Yeah, I can't remember if it was me or him that bought. One of us bought it, and you know, and I loved it. It was right, especially back then. It was before I'd even got into coaching people or anything. It was just, I mean, I've never even trained MMA. I've never competed. I was just a big fan back then when Ross was coming on the scene with the Ultimate Fighter, you know, and Bisping was relatively new on the scene, and you know, like in basically in the back end of the Pride days, really. And just seeing that kind of training, it was just right up my street. So we used to go and do all sorts of shit on the field with tyres we found and sorts of crap, you know. And we enjoyed it, and that's probably what got me going into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was great. I loved it, mate.
Mate, the thing is though, that style of training at the time when I had the idea of it didn't sell very well, and now everybody's doing it, and it's great to see because for me, like I always used to say to folk, look, you don't need a multi-million-pound facility to train in. You know, you all you need is a bit of a desire, and then you see all these videos now of kids in like young kids in Thailand doing Thai boxing. You see judo players in like Africa with like second-hand judo jackets, and they're doing turn-ins, like turn-in throwing drills with inner tubes. You know, bike inner tubes. My dad used to do that in the 70s and 80s with an old inner tube, but now you can buy kit for that. You can buy resistance bands for that because I've got some. But I always remember it was just, you know, you just a little bit of imagination. You know yourself. I've seen some of the stuff you do. It's brilliant, and you know, it's just imaginative. Get a tire, a sledgehammer, and a hill, and you can get a massively decent conditioning workout. So, you know, you don't need. I think people, the internet's like one of these things, and it's a great tool if it's done right. You know, I mean, sometimes it's not. Obviously, as you know, we see plenty internet half-wits, don't we? But like, if it's done right and it's researched right, you can find anything out and you can do anything you want on the internet. You know, with in the right direction, kind of thing. But people, I think, sometimes get like you referred to the average Joes earlier, and you sometimes get suckered in by these people who because I think the industry is full of charlatans, pretenders, and it's like, you know, it's wrong. It's not regulated enough, and anybody can, as you say, anybody can set up. And I think for someone that's less inclined or is like swamped by like too much information on the internet, they go to somebody who's less than capable or a bit unscrupulous, and they come across with, they get injured, and then that's them off fitness for life, you know. And which I think is a shame. I think it's a massive shame.
Of course it is. Yeah, it is, pal. So In fact, I tell you what, just going back, like you were saying about the, if you have something like a tyre and a hill and all that, and it actually just reminded me of, I remember, I mean, Joe DeFranco's mentioned loads of times about in his early days when he was first coaching people out of the back of his truck, and he would literally just go to maybe like a supermarket car park somewhere or something like that, and he'd just have a tyre, probably a couple of sandbags, and that was it. And that's how he coached his, prospective NFL athletes. And I mean, that guy's had ridiculous amounts of success with athletes going through. And like you say, you don't need the multi-million-pound facilities, as people like him as well are testament to, aren't they? So it's good to see.
100%. 100%. It's. I mean, I started off in parks and fields and stuff, and me and Ross did there's some early videos of me and Ross out, like YouTube videos where he's doing bits and bobs in local parks and fields and wide open spaces and stuff, and with sledgehammers, tyres, that sort of thing. I mean, I didn't even have a proper dragging like sled as such. I had a plastic kid's snow sledge. That was all I used, and I used to put a big heavy sandbag on and dump the kettlebells on top of that so it wouldn't crack. And that worked for months and months. I had that. That was great. And you know, it was like a tenner. The sledge was a tenner.
There you go. Exactly.
And it was just a budget, you know, and you could. I mean, one of the articles I wrote over the years, I wrote for Fighters Only. I wrote on like backyard gym, not like junkyard gyms, you know. I said you don't need like massive amounts of like kit, you know. Get sandbags. I had, you know, the big water coolers that you see in office blocks. I had those full of sand. You know, a sledgehammer might be your only outlay. Get a tyre. Garages have to get paid to get shot of tyres. They're glad to let you take a couple. Do you know what I mean? So you just come away and it was dead. It was dead easy to set up a few, like what it looks like nothing, but you get like a really quality workout out of it. You know, like a brutal workout if you know, depending on how hard you want to push yourself. And you're only really limited by your imagination, you know, as well as hitting a tyre with a sledgehammer. You can pick it up, throw it overhead, throw it, sprint after it, you know, and you're building things into it. And it's I think people do need to think outside the box a little bit, you know. I do think folks need guidance. They need coaches like yourself. And like when I was running it, things like that, it's good to point people in the right direction. And that's why another good point of social media and the internet is when there's people like you putting good content out there and people like Joe DeFranco putting good content. That's what you need to kind of drown out these idiots that are like selling magic bullet theory type stuff and diet pills and all that sort of shit, you know. And they're very much like shake weighty type, you know, snake oil salesman. That's the phrase I was looking for. And they're just, you know, it's helping the average people cut through all that shit, really, isn't it? That's what you need to do. And I think like folks like you do that really well. It's just plain. I appreciate that, man. The problem is though, it's plain speaking. Sometimes people don't like it. That's the other thing. That's the other side, isn't it? You know?
No, that's it, mate. Yeah. So, mate, you know, I mean, we tend to keep these to sort of like half an hour-ish, and we're approaching that now, mate. So, I always like to ask my guests for a bit of an embarrassing story. So, you know, the idea is just shows no matter who you are, what you've done, what you've achieved, what you've been through, all that kind of stuff. We've all made a complete idiot of ourselves at some point. So, don't let us down, pal. What have you got to share with us?
I was thinking about one when you tipped me off about this the other day. I was thinking, you know, because I've never took myself very seriously, so I was thinking there's bound to be some, you know, there's got to be. There's some of them, you know, my kids might watch this, so some of them probably won't be that. I'll probably have to leave some of them out. But one that did spring to mind is one like over the years as I was growing up, I worked as a door supervisor in Sunderland for a bit. As over about 18 years, and I'd gone to work at this place on a bank holiday Monday. So I'd started at 4 o'clock, and it was August bank holiday Monday, and the bar was called Idols, and we had like a few places like Idols and Annabelle's. They were around like dotted. There was a company around the northeast, and they were dotted around the northeast, like Newcastle, Whitley Bay. I don't know if you've ever been up to Whitley Bay or Newcastle, places like that.
I've never been. I know where Whitley Bay is, though, mate. Yeah.
It's one of those. It was one of those places, you know, like rough seaside kind of resorts, you know, but great for stag and hen do's and stuff like that. And Sunderland at one point had a good little reputation like that, you know. Anyhow, I'd gone to work at 4 o'clock, so it was an early start, and I was due to work at the pub till 11, as the old licensing laws were then. This is like pre-millennium. This was like late 90s, maybe early 2000s at a push. And I'd gone there, I'd turned up to work, and at the time we had like polo shirts on and smart trousers and a bomber jacket. That was before the SIA came in with the suits and the shirts and ties and stuff. So
like Max and
I got
Paddy.
to work. It was exactly like that, really. I'd gone to work, and this wouldn't have looked out of place on an episode of Max and Paddy, to be fair. So I'd gone to work, and 4 o'clock I was thinking, I might have quietened off, you know. No, so I get there. 2 of the lads that had been on since 12 come bundling out with this bunch of lads, and they were fighting those hell on. So I went running in. I thought, God, straight away, you know, I'd even signed in. Straight away, I gets all this like, come on, mate, come on. And so he walked out. He walked out, and because of my background with judo and sambo, and I always used to say to people, I've got like a bit of flexibility in my response with judo or sambo. Whereas, like, I used to work with some very capable lads, boxers, karate guys, you know, very capable, big, strong, striking background type people. And I used to say to them, there's only one way you can punch somebody. You know, you can punch them, and you've got to do a bit of damage with it. Where I used to be able to say, if I can upend somebody or throw somebody, I can put them down gently, or I can plant them. You know, that was my and it served as well. Judo, sambo served as well over me time when I worked the door. You know, even just wrapping people's arms up and moving them and stuff. So I get this guy leaves anyway, and he as we got to the door, he'd seen that his pals were fighting, and he turned around and started having to go at me. So I wrapped one of his arms and I threw him. I did this like judo throw on him. And upended him, and it involves me using one of my legs to sweep his leg out from underneath him. And I've done it for years. It's one of my favourite throws in competition. I've done it over and over. I must have done it 1,000,000 times over the times, you know, that I've been on the mats and stuff. And I've done it a couple of times outside. And I don't know how he's done it. To this day, I don't know how he did this, but he managed to rip me trousers from ankle to crotch, right? Pair of like dress trousers. Wide open, so I'm flapping about, and me less than impressive junk and me boxer shorts is pretty much hanging out right outside a really busy pub. 4 o'clock in the afternoon, bank holiday, August bank holiday Sunday, the busiest bank holiday of the year. No. And I'm like, because I actually said to him, I had him on the floor, and I went, "How the fuck did you do that?" and I like pulled him up, and he started laughing. He ran off, and I was like, I'd literally been to work 5 minutes, and I was like, "Are you fucking joking?" But the best of it was I had to walk back to my car, and we used to park across the main road. There was like a busy road with a pelican crossing. We always parked our cars there out the way, and I thought, well, nobody had any needle and thread. Nobody had any. I mean, it was literally like a pair of full Monty trousers, you know, like literally right the inside of my thigh, right the way up, literally all the way up. And I was like, how he's done it? Because I don't know where he grabbed my leg or how. So I was like, I was baffled at this point, but the lads were pissing themselves. So I'm saying, right, I'm gonna have to go home before it gets too busy. I can't stop here. Nobody had any safety pins and out. So I walked back to my car, and it was like a really bad walk of shame, you know. I'm like walking back to my car, and because of the slight breeze, because it was late in the day, my trousers floated off.
Oh, you're joking!
And I was trying, like, took it into my sock, and I've got people driving past going and whistling at us and all sorts of. I had to stop the traffic to cross the road. There were wolf whistling at us. I was thinking, get me out of here! This is shite. I got back to the car. Quickly drove home thinking, please don't break down, because I had an old car at the time. Got back home, quickly put me black jeans on, went straight back to work. I was like, right, crisis averted. But it was literally, I had people mention it later on going, "Oh, you got your trousers sorted." I'm like, "Yeah, shut up, let's just put that in a pasta, let's just forget about it." But it wasn't so much the actual incident itself, it was the wolf whistling as I'm trying to cross the road. And it was the longest, literally, it used to take us 2 minutes to walk from the car park, but it seemed to take like a good 10 minutes, you know. And I was thinking, this could only happen to me. I'd literally been to work 5 minutes, but I still don't know to this day how he'd grabbed hold of my leg that I was swinging up back behind us to upend him, and he ripped my pants literally right the way across. I thought, fuck. So, and I've got a crappy pair of boxer shorts on as well, because you're not expecting to get them out in front of like 500 people, you know. So I was like, so the lesson there was decent boxer shorts and sturdier trousers. That was the lesson after that.
Yeah, good boxer shorts, no matter the occasion.
Oh, mate, posh ones, you know, posh ones.
That's it, mate. Yeah, always wear your best ones.
None of your Primani numbers, no, they were no good.
Oh, no. Nice one. That's a crack of that, mate. Thanks for that. Right, mate. So I know you said you've sort of, even though the business is sort of physically shut down, but is there anywhere people can catch the stuff you're up to via social media? Because I know you said about carrying on the Grapplefit name. So is there any way they can maybe still download your ebooks or watch your videos on YouTube or wherever? Anything like that?
I've got a YouTube channel, and I've got obviously my Instagram channel at Grapplefit as well, which are both Grapplefit, and I'm on Facebook. But I actually don't have my website either now. So what people were doing was they were just messaging and out getting in touch with me through social media, and I was just arranging it there and then, So if anybody did for whatever reason say, oh look, I wouldn't mind seeing a copy of Real Fighters Don't, for whatever, it was kind of like it happened. I think what had happened, I'd put one on because it had come on one of my memories, one of my like time hop memory type things, and I was like, wow, back in the day, blah blah blah, when I did this. Because Real Fighters Don't Run actually got me. I had a bit of an argument with a famous boxing promoter about that at the time, and he disagreed with my ethos on it and said like champions run, and I had a big conversation with him on the phone, and he was adamant that like I was wrong and MMA fighters train differently to boxers and all that sort of shit, So that was that was a labour of love for me, that about trying to change people's attitudes to fight condition, and that was what I was wanting to do at the time, And I'm not against running per se at all, but it was how it was done to death for conditioning. And that was what the book was about. I mean, obviously because you've seen it. And I'd posted something like that, and somebody said, "Can we still get this?" And I said, "Well, as it happens, I've got them still. It's just an ebook. It's a PDF, I said, "But I've got them." I says, "If you want," I says, "I'll," And he got in touch, and I was like, "Wow!" And I posted about somebody buying it, and then somebody else got in touch, and it just kind of, I thought, you know what? It's like, obviously, if people are still thinking it's relevant, then it was happy days, But I haven't got I am thinking about getting a website back again, because I've been doing a little bit of online training for folks as well.
Nice,
so
cool.
I've got a bit of a training presence, if you like, but not like not a business as such. Not at all like yourself. Not at all like yourself. Because I like to think of myself as retired from the fitness industry. Because sometimes when I look at it now, mate, I mean, the stuff you must see now from some of it, I tend not to watch a lot of them, because I just think, they just do the editing, and it's the oversaturation. That's like you said it yourself about how oversaturated is it. It's the oversaturation of it. That's what gets on my nerves, And it's I do like see yourselves. I watch and like Joe DeFranco, people like that.
I appreciate that, mate.
No, mate, it's credit where it's due. It's
massively. It's
one of those things you've got to like because your training. I mean, your trainings. It's real. And that word that they've ruined, functional. Do you know what I mean?
I knew you were going to say that then.
I hate it now, but at the time it made sense. It made sense because there was a carryover to real world stuff.
100%, mate. It had a meaning behind it, didn't it?
It did. But I think it's been like chewed up and spat out by the corporate gym machine, and it's lost its punch a bit, it's lost its sting a bit because of that. I think that you've got pencil neck trainers who've done a weekend certification in spin, and then talk about functionality of exercise, and you think, you can't really preach about that, when you
no, I agree, mate.
Spinning Doris on your spin class. Not that Doris in our spin class is not a valuable customer, but you can't talk about form and function, and and I think they've changed it. That like most things, they get a hold of stuff and it becomes like commercial and overused, basically, overused and stuff. Like everybody's doing like it's nice to see how it evolves, but I think like it's very faddy, isn't it? You know that, mate. It's very faddy.
Yeah, of course it is.
And yet for the stuff you do, fitness hasn't changed. People haven't changed in terms of evolution. So basics are the thing that works. So and as you said again, a coin in your phrase, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I know we were talking about something else there, but it's true. If it applies to
100%, mate. Yeah, that's it. Keep it simple. Doesn't need to get fancy.
No, not at all, mate. Not at all.
No, right, mate. Thank you so much for your time. Honestly, mate, I was absolutely made up when you said you come on it. Like I said, me and speak for my brother as well. We've both been fans for quite some time, which I know you're a bit embarrassed about, but no, it's true, mate. It is. It's you're definitely one of the original coaches. I was got a sweat patch there. I was one of the original coaches I got into. So yeah, I really massively appreciate you coming on, pal.
Honestly, pal, thank you. It's. I've been on more podcasts the last couple of years, ironically, since folding the business than I was when I was working in it. You know, but it's nice, mate. It's honestly, it's spot on that people.
My pleasure.
Still want to hear what I say. You know.
Yeah, my pleasure, mate. Absolutely. Right, take it easy, pal, and I'll speak to you again very soon.
All right.
Cheers, Barry.
Cheers, Dan. Thanks very much, mate. Take care.
My pleasure,
Bye-bye,
mate. You're
mate.
welcome. Thank you.